Welcome back. We now turn our attention to that very controversial Samoa agreement deal that has generated a lot of talk on social media and across board in the polity. Whether or not Nigeria knew what it signed up to because of certain clauses in that particular agreement between the European Union, Organization of Africa, Caribbean and Pacific states. So basically it's an agreement that was signed for, they say, for economic development. And it was signed in Samoa, but it's an agreement between these states and the European Union. But there are clauses within it that is generating controversy. So before I introduce my guest, I want to put up that clause. And there are two basic clauses. First is the one that has to do with the general principle of that agreement, Article 2.5. And also the one that has to do with health, Article 29.5. So yes, that's the one. This is a controversial one. The party shall systematically promote a gender perspective and ensure that gender equality is mainstreamed across all policies. So if we go to the next one, which borders on health, that has to do with general principle. The party shall support universal access to sexual and reproductive health, commodities and healthcare services, including for family planning, information and education, and the integration of reproductive health into national strategies and programs. So these are the two articles, that's Article 2.5 and Article 29.5, which people are suspecting is ambiguous, something may be behind it. Does it have to do with LGBTQ? That's why we want to have the conversation. The federal government has come to say it's all about economic development and nothing more. But is that true? We want to have that conversation. Mr. Sonny Ekwosi, legal practitioner and notary public, joins us. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. I'm happy that you cited those articles of the Samoa agreement. It's not just that article, also Article 36.2, which has to do with the implementation of the outcome of the economic conference on population and international conference on population and development and the Beijing conference. That article is also a part of the Samoa agreement. Just to start with, I would say that the Samoa agreement is a post-Cotonou agreement.
No, just before you, I know you want to fire from all cylinders.
Yes, let me just concentrate on this.
Let's start from basic.
Okay, the basic, exactly.
Okay, let's start. You're going to do what
I'm going to do because I also talk about my background a little bit because I'm in the center of it all. I'm the chairman of the African Bar Committee on Human and Constitutional Rights. We have discussed this Samoa agreement and in Zimbabwe and also in Uganda. And the African lawyers said, look, no African country should sign. And Nigeria specifically should not sign. We attended the meetings where lobbying took place that the EU has been living in Africa for the past since 2019 to ensure that African countries sign this devious and this deceptive agreement. Like rightly pointed out, Section 2.5 talks about the gender equality and it talks about the sexual reproductive health and rights. I am a delegate to United Nations, so I know the language of the EU. I know the language of the United Nations. I was at the UN in March this year, and I will tell you that whenever the word gender equality props up during negotiation at the UN, all the countries raise up their hand and say, look, we are not going to allow it to come unless you define what you mean by gender. No, gender for before you and I means male and female. But right now, gender is given a social construct.
So you're saying contextually gender is different from sex?
Yeah, it's sex, male and female. Gender now connotes LGBT, connotes sexual orientation, connotes comprehensive sexuality education. That is teaching of our children.
Your understanding, so is it explicit or deductive reasoning?
It is explicit because it's at the UN. I go to the United Nations, I participate. So what I'm saying is not my view. It is the view of that African countries who go to the United Nations. That is their view. Gender equality is not accepted by the African group and the UN. Sexual reproductive health and rights is also not accepted because they are Trojan horses Trojan horses means that their interpretation does not mean like gender, does not mean male and female. It connotes LGBT and so on and so forth. So now, the minister has come out to say, the Minister for Information, with all due respect, the minister does not understand the document. From what he said the Samoa agreement was signed 2018. It was not signed 2018. It was signed on 15th of November 2023, which means that the minister is not even sure of what he's talking about. And Articles the articles in the Samoa agreement are 106. Okay? We told them that those 160, Article 2.5, Article 36.2, Article 29.5 should be expunged from the document. It's a trade agreement. Why put articles that have to do with LGBT? Expunge them and let us know that it is the trade agreement. And they said no. The agreement does not have a reservation. It does not have interpretation clause. I'm a lawyer, and I will tell you that every agreement you have to have interpretation clause.
Let's put it in. You're a lawyer, so let's state facts.
Yes.
Your deductive reasoning in this context is that gender perspective connotes LGBTQ.
It is not my view. It is actually the view I have. It's the United Nations definition agreed by all the African countries that go to the UN. I go to the UN. I participate in negotiations, so I know the language. It's not my view, but that is what it's all about. You know that it's called euphemistic expressions. The European Union knows that when they mention the word LGBT, it's so explicit. So they now use what is called euphemisms. And I know the euphemisms, the whole world knows the euphemisms. Now, in this agreement, in this Samoa agreement, the EU is going to be a pace setter, okay? Now, it has a provision that Council of Ministers are going to be meeting, headed by the EU, and they're going to be making binding decisions on African countries, which means what we have as the agreement has not ended. It's like giving a blank check to somebody, okay, and the person will not put the amount. So the Samoa agreement is a blanket check. It's a Trojan horse because the EU is going to be making binding decisions that are going to affect African countries. You know, this is the most dangerous thing that Nigeria can do, to sign this agreement. You know, we are buffeted on all fronts, economic, political, strikes, insecurity. But this one is very dangerous because it has to do with the cultural, religious life of the people. I was in Abuja on Wednesday with some Muslim clerics, no? They went with us to the National Assembly. And we had a meeting with National Assembly members, including the chairman of treaty, chairman in charge of National Assembly Committee on Treaty. They said they were not aware that Nigeria signed.
And I think
so who did they consult before signing the agreement? National Assembly was not consulted. I was there on Wednesday, and they said they were shocked that they signed without consultation. National Assembly represents the people of Nigeria. You know that these people in power are representing you and I, okay? We give them the mandate. They are our servants, so they should be accountable to us. And National Assembly people, they represent us. They did not consult them, and they went and signed.
So you talked about an advocacy at the level of the UN.
Yes.
Was it before the signing of the agreement? And were Nigerian officials, representatives that would have signed the agreement at that time, were they aware of this advocacy that you talk about?
Oh, they are aware. We told them that.
Before the signing?
Oh, of course, we are there. We know that the agreement was signed 15th of November 2023. Nigeria did not sign at that time because Nigeria said, we can't sign with these provisions. Nigeria did not even go to Samoa. They did not even go to show how Nigeria hated the agreement. We are not surprised that after saying they were not going to sign, that on the 28th of June, one diplomat in Brussels signed the agreement on behalf of Nigeria.
Which diplomat is this?
Well, if you want to mention the name, I don't want to mention the name because I know the name of the diplomat who signed on behalf of everybody.
A Nigerian diplomat.
And a Nigerian diplomat without consulting National Assembly. When Nigeria has said they are not, Nigeria don't go to Samoa. Okay? That's why I'm in the center of it all. Because Nigeria very said, we're not going to go, we're not going to sign. And Nigeria did not sign. 34 African, Caribbean, Pacific countries did not sign. because of the clauses. Now, how come on the 28th of June, 2024, one diplomat, I'm not allowed to mention his name because for security reasons, went and signed on behalf of us? When we were at the National Assembly on Wednesday, we were asking them, how come this diplomat went and signed? The chairman of the Committee on Treaties and Protocols of the National Assembly said he was not aware. That is Honorable Rabiu. He was not aware. And all the members of the National Assembly said they were not aware. And I said, who told this diplomat to sign this agreement on our behalf? When Nigeria previously has said, we're not going to sign.
But
yes.
yeah, just a moment, Jeff.
Yes,
I want to come in here because
okay,
there's a dualist theory, right?
Yes.
And there's something called transformation.
Exactly.
So when
Domestication.
treaties, exactly, when they are signed wherever.
By virtue of Section 12 of the
Exactly.
Constitution.
Sub 1, it says that no treaty between the Federation and any other country shall have the force of law to the extent to which any such treaty has been enacted into law by the National Assembly.
The Nigerian party is a dualist system whereby after signing you have to do what's called ratification and domestication by virtue of Section 12.
The question is
that,
let me just put the question in
can
so
this
you can
treaty,
accommodate it. Pardon me.
Yes.
So my question is two things. Is it explicit in that agreement? Is LGBTI explicitly stated? One. Two, this has not been domesticated, transformed, or anything. There's a law existing in Nigeria, 2014, that prohibits same-sex marriage. So doesn't it just fall flat on its face?
It does not, because the minister also mentioned it does not fall because, you know, the wordings of the Samoa agreement, we have read it exhaustively. I'm a lawyer for almost 40 years now, so I know what treaty is all about, and I studied international law. I go to the UN. The treaty has worded in such a way that once Nigeria signs, you don't need domestication or ratification for it to be binding. Once Nigeria appends its signature, EU will send their envoy to all departments in Nigeria for enforcement, okay? And, you know, they don't wait for Section 12 ratification and domestication to occur because they are aware that when they ratify, they might reject it. So they don't word the treaty, that is the Samoa agreement, in such a way that once you sign, they're going to be asking you to meet up with your international obligation by virtue of signing. And the EU is going to be making binding decisions that will affect all those who sign. That's what I'm saying, that Samoa agreement is a blanket, it's an open check you are giving to somebody.
But no law should supersede
Nigeria's
constitution.
Yeah, but what it does that, it's going to supersede. In principle, no law, no treaty supersede, in principle. Yeah. I know the cases, Khalifa Oemi, and I know the case and all that. But in practice, once they sign, all Nigerian ministers and officials will give an account to EU. You know, what the EU is doing with us is neocolonialism par excellence, you know? We have gotten our independence, but they are still pushing us, they are still imposing things on us. One of these is LGBT. Although LGBT is not explicitly mentioned in the agreement, what is mentioned there is gender equality. I've explained that at the UN. Gender raises a red flag. Once a gender appears, all the African countries said, define what you mean by gender, because gender is no more male and female. It means LGBT. It means those who are neither male nor female, you know? So if you want to avoid LGBT, you have to put a clause in the agreement that says, under those circumstances with LGBT, abortion and transgender be enforced in this agreement.
But no, hold on, sir. Just a minute. Yes. Doesn't Article 2.2 answer to that? Because it talks about it's not going to impugn on the political independence or the sovereignty or the integrity, territorial integrity of the member state. And it's going to be consistent with the UN Charter. Doesn't it allay that fear?
No. Because
you know the article, you know the...
Yes, I know. I've read this so many times. 2.5, when you go to 29.5, you now see another one. When you now go to 6.2, you now say that it says that the agreement shall also enforce the outcome documents of International Conference on Population and Development and the Beijing Conference. Okay,
I've checked both of them.
Yes,
checked the Beijing,
their review.
Beijing platform.
Their review Human Rights Committee of the one you check is the old one. it's been reviewed,
Right.
and reviewed, human rights committee are reviewed, to include, he made 33 references to LGBT. That reviewed one. And Samoa Agreement has mentioned human rights 100 times. The United Nations has now said that human rights does no longer include human rights that you and I know. It includes LGBT rights. That's why I'm saying that that will cause it difficult, because the language has changed.
So is Nigeria a party to the renewed Beijing?
Of course, Nigeria is a party.
Well?
Nigeria is a party.
The new one, not
Oh,
the
of course,
old
of course,
one.
of course. Nigeria is a party to it.
So we saw the LGBTI.
Of course, we saw the LGBT, and that document says that the Beijing conference and the ICP reviewed human rights document had reference to abortion, LGBT, specifically explicit, and comprehensive sexuality education. Yeah. You know, this is already happening in Nigeria, because we have gone to Federal High Court to stop the syllabus that are being used in Nigerian schools, which include masturbation. Just boys and just girls, you know. They're not teaching them masturbation, sterilization, and all that. You know about the GMO food. I'm touching so many things now because
we don't
have
think
time.
A lot of them are maybe
GMO food is also about the same thing. What these people are trying to do is to eliminate us. This is not conspiracy theory. I am the center of it all. I go to the UN. I'm the chairman of the Human Rights Committee of the African Bar. I attended the negotiation of this Samoa agreement. I attended because they were lobbying African countries to accept, you know, and we told them not to accept. Nigeria did not accept. That was before the signing on 15th of November 2023. We are now surprised that on the 28th of June, somebody who calls himself a diplomat has signed on behalf of Nigeria. What I'm saying is that, look, that the ICPC Beijing conference has explicit clauses that has to do with LGBT, that has to do with all this. And they are there, okay?
By the way, the diplomats won't have signed without express approval, rather, from the government.
From the government, but not the National Assembly, not the National Assembly.
Either is it the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, is it the Ministry of Finance?
No, the person who is behind it is Ministry of Budget and Planning. As Bogudu, yes. He's the one that announced that.
And I think we should just take a look at that statement.
Yes, he said that. He said that he has signed. And I said, look, what has Ministry of Budget and Planning has to go with treaties and all that? It's National Assembly that has the competence to examine what you are going to sign. You didn't consult them. Even after it has been signed, the National Assembly that is going to domesticate it by virtue of Section 12 of the Constitution. But I have now said that as soon as you sign these days, it's being
okay, we'll take the perspective of the minister, because maybe you take that.
I'd like to know.
Just hold on.
I'd like to know what your worry is about the disposition of the federal government towards this agreement, in spite of the assurances that it provides that it is not a party to the clauses that you're interpreting. But before that, it would be instructive to read a portion of the reaction of the federal government towards this. And this is the verified handle of the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation. And what is material to this conversation is from, I believe, the second paragraph. And it says, negotiations on the agreement started in 2018 on the sidelines of the 73rd United Nations General Assembly. It was signed in Apia, Samoa on the 15th of November 2018 by all 27...
Say 2023.
It's 2023. By all 27 EU member states and 47 of the 79 OACPS member states. The agreement has 103 articles comprising a common foundational impact and 3 regional protocols, namely Africa EU, Caribbean EU, and Pacific EU regional protocols, with each regional protocol addressing the peculiar issues of the region. And it goes on to say...
I think go to the second to the last paragraph.
The second to the last paragraph. Yeah, it is necessary to assure Nigerians that the President Bola Tinubu administration, being a rule-based government, will not enter into any international agreement that will be detrimental to the interests of the country and its citizens. In negotiating the agreement, our officials strictly followed the mandates exchanged in 2023, I believe, between the EU and the OACPS for the process. So based on this assurance provided by the federal government, are you...
my response to that...
Are you saying that despite the duality principle, which pretty much insulates the government, that you're not confident that
I'm not
that will be abided by?
The offensive sections of the Samoa Agreement were not removed before they signed. And I have said that there is agreement, the way it is worded, the Samoa Agreement, with all due respect and with, that is in such a way that once a country signs, implementation starts pending the incorporation as the law of the country. They don't even wait for that. Okay, they send their envoy and they start implementing. You know that sexual and reproductive rights is being implemented in Nigeria, even without being domestication. It's not domesticated. Okay? So there's so much money.
In what way?
Oh, in schools now. I told you that how we went to court and the documents that were being implemented where boys are said, touch the genital of the girl and said, I love you.
What about the LGBTI part?
In Nigerian schools?
We exhibited them in Nigerian public schools.
In Nigerian schools?
In Nigerian school, went to the Federal High Court, and the judge said, sure, what is this? It's been taught in Nigerian school. The documents, the syllabus. LGBT syllabus, okay? And what they did that they agreed to settle out of court. They agreed to expunge those from the syllabus.
In which state in Nigeria?
Lagos State.
Sorry, who agreed to settle out of court?
Federal High Court. Lagos State government.
Lagos State government. But did this have is it a school administrative thing, or the people providing the materials for the students, or the state government itself that writes the syllabus, or the...
Oh, no, it's from the EU, it's from the West. So much money is involved, and they impose it. It's not official, eh? They impose it in the Federal Ministry of Education.
So is it by way of materials? Do they provide
materials? I have the materials. If you want me to come back to the studio, I'll bring a document that will sign. Materials bearing the imprimatur of the Federal Ministry of Health, the Federal Ministry of Education.
No, part of it. I just want to get this right. How is this being implemented in schools?
In schools that
we have textbooks that they use to teach the students.
There are textbooks. That's what we exhibited at the Federal High Court. Textbook teachers.
So this implementation of the
drawings of sterilization, okay, wearing of condoms, masturbation, touching the genital of the opposite sex and saying I love you. This is not theory. I have the text. We went to court and I have the degree that we filed at the Federal High Court. I can bring it if you want.
So this implementation, is it flowing from the Samoa Agreement or previous treaties?
Before the Samoa Agreement. Now with Samoa Agreement, it is complicated because Samoa Agreement has made it official now. If Nigeria signs and Nigeria has signed, it becomes super official, okay? In the sense that they will continue doing what they have been doing in the past. This to tell you that, look, domestication or no domestication, they don't give a damn. They come here, money exchange hands, and it's being implemented. We are on ground. I'm a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for something, so I know that this thing is being implemented. I've gone to court. I was the lawyer that defended the NGOs that went to court. So we saw it and we know it is in my office. I can bring it and show you that, in fact, also first year in universities, they also have the syllabus. Universities of, they do borrowed course in first year. The borrowed course and all
electives.
That. Elective courses, If you see the question that they are asking them to sign, they have to describe explicit sexual encounter with the opposite sex. I'm saying, what is all this? Why sex, EU, and all that? And why LGBT, transgender? Okay, transgender is a man saying I'm a woman, and a woman saying I'm a man. It's right here. Somebody somebody is in jail because of it. I would like to mention. It's official, but this is in jail because of this.
The
government says it's as a result. It was the EFCC that arrested him as a result of
let's see how we can make progress on this one. Now that Nigeria has signed.
Yes.
What then happens?
Nigeria should unsign the document. Nigeria should withdraw because the consequences are so great. This can trigger up a big protest. You see what's happening in Kenya? What's happening in Kenya? Because we have a meeting with the Muslims in Abuja and they're saying it is completely unacceptable because, the Muslims, it has to do with our cultural values and religious values. It will compromise our principles, You see, we have political problems, we have economic problems, we have strikes, we have insecurity. But this one deals with who we are as a people. It don't destroy a people. That's why I'm so passionate. It don't destroy who I am because I am an African. I'm a Nigerian we have African cultural heritage. You can't be in New York and be telling me how to live my life. Okay?
Well, just the last paragraph of the federal government statement says the Samoa Agreement is nothing but a vital legal framework for cooperation between the OACPS and the European Union to promote sustainable development.
And we said expunge the offensive sections, and we agree with you.
In fact, the EU agrees with that contentious part.
Can they expunge?
The ACP states reluctant to see the foundation agreement mention sexual orientation and gender identity, which is LGBTI rights. And an issue they say there are also differences among EU member states. That's also an issue among EU member states. Can they expunge the section
so we can go on? They refuse to do that. No definition, no reservation. So the document is dangerous. It's a Trojan horse. It's unacceptable. Nigeria should withdraw her signature from the agreement.
Mr. Senokrosi is a legal practitioner and notary public. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
We hope that we'll find a way around this. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. I'm so grateful. Yes.
Okay, from there we'll move on to other issues. Maybe head out to Rivers State to find out exactly what the meaning of that court's ruling at the Court of Appeal means for all the parties. Join us again.